Greetings and welcome to another Super Secret Project sketch. This is Eric Whalen from Super Secret Project X, and today we're going to do one of my favorite old characters. I finally, because we have Boomerang, had a chance to get into the Looney Tunes show. I think it's highly underrated. I have laughed my butt off at this show, and it is one of the Looney Tunes shows that when it was running, I wish that I had caught. Now I'm getting to catch it. It's great. Now, this isn't the model sheet from that show. This is I believe this is the Chuck Jones. Well, it's the 1991, so I'm not sure if that counts as Chuck Jones or not. Probably not. But I'm going to do Daffy today. I love Daffy Duck. He was, early on, he kind of just was one of those characters that was like, he's wacky, he's zany, he's crazy, he causes mayhem, but over the years, he's Daffy, you know. Over the years, however, they turned him into a Class A jerk. And especially in the Looney Tunes show, he is such a horrible person.
How has he been described both by other people and himself? Psychotic, narcissistic.
He's a hideous person.
Jealous.
Just a jerk. Just a jerk. And
Sociopath. That was the other
sociopath. I don't want to sit there and go like, oh yeah, no. It's cool. No, he's a terrible person. There's nothing cool about what he does. And he's funny the entire time because he should be the villain of the show. And I just love him to death because you're like, what a jerk.
The thing that keeps getting me is that he barely gets punished for his...
Ever!
Yeah, like very... And that's what gets me because I'm all about... I can take people being jerks as long as every once in a while they get what's coming back to them. They get their recompense and all. But man, he just doesn't seem to get it back, and that just drives me absolutely insane. I'm just like, no, I need to see you get
punished.
Yes.
Well, the thing is when they do, they really punish him, and it's really funny. Like my there's this episode where because he loses his parade float, which is his car, he has to instead, because of his ego, get a yacht. And he can't afford $300,000 for a yacht. So he convinces Porky Pig that he's dying, so Porky will lend him the money to waste on a yacht. And so this ruins Porky's life while this jerk is living it up on a yacht. And when Bugs figures it out, he tells Porky, and there's this great scene of Porky Pig just coming over, filthy and naked, right over the edge of the yacht, and just starts beating the living tar out of Daffy for like 3 straight minutes. I mean, it is, I was laughing so hard, and I'm going like, no, they give it to him from time to time. And what's great is Bugs didn't stop Porky at all. It's just, now there's a certain wonderful sense of humor on that show, and it was really, I'm disappointed that it didn't do at least as well as I thought it should have done. Because honestly, I more than not am laughing pretty hard at that. And when I hit moments where I'm like, oh, this episode could be stronger, or blah, 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 it's not usually 5 minutes before they prove me wrong, and they just were doing a build-up of some kind. And
somebody described it as almost as animated Seinfeld.
It kind of is.
And I can almost see that, but I'm not...
It's not quite right,
yeah,
but it kind of is.
I'm not the biggest Seinfeld fan, so I can kind of see...
I liked it back in the day, but I can't really watch it anymore.
Yeah, there were certain episodes that I actually watched and I thought were absolutely hilarious. Like, of course, the ones that everyone talks about, the Soup Nazi episode and
Funny, I don't think I've seen the entirety of that one.
Yeah, I've seen that one. the Master of Your Domain one was always hilarious.
That was one of my favorites.
Yeah, and
I was a lonely young man. I mean, I connected with that episode.
which is funny because November is also called No Nut November. Which
That is too much to ask, my friend.
They encourage people not to do the diddly for the entire month.
Why? So insanity just steadily builds in the population?
I think, I don't know, but there's also a No Shave November, which is not supposed to shave the entire
Well,
month.
the only one I knew of was Sober October was the only...
That's funny because I've not even heard of that one.
Sober October is where you are not supposed to get intoxicated at all and like detox, which it's not that I, do it because I don't drink or do anything.
Right.
So mostly it would be me not having like chocolate malts. So that really doesn't count,
Huh. Okay, yeah, I'm not. Well, that's a good thing if people want to.
Yeah, no, detoxing is probably a good idea. Yeah.
Excuse me.
Ooh.
Sorry.
Say now.
I tried to stop, but it didn't want to.
You're over there getting nasty, baby. You're despicable. I'm serious. It was funny. It was, I was really remembering Bugs a lot, but right when they redid it for the Looney Tunes show, I know a lot of people didn't like it, and there's a handful of things where I can kind of see what some of them are saying. Like, I thought the new Witch Hazel was funny, but I mean, she was a significant voice change.
Yeah.
So I can see how that would throw people off. I mean, I'm not gonna judge on that. I liked the new version, so I didn't have much of an issue with it.
Right.
But like Taz was an excellent idea. Instead of making him that classic Tasmanian devil thing, he becomes Bugs's dog, which is really funny. The way they did it, so they kind of changed the relationship, and Yosemite Sam is Bugs' next door neighbor, and he's like the worst neighbor possible. And Lola, they did nothing but make Lola infinitely better than she's ever been. She is so funny in that show.
They gave them all, well, not only personalities, but distinct personalities.
Yeah,
of
they're
course.
interesting.
And that was one of the things they wanted to do. From what I remember, they wanted to distinguish themselves from the classic Looney Tunes.
Sure,
they were saying,
they should, yeah.
This is not your classic Looney Tunes. We're actually doing.
And the
this
funny
as a
thing is it really was at the same time.
yeah, but they modernized them and gave them personalities, and I love the fact that that Gossamer, the big orange creature,
Gossamer's so funny.
is Witch Hazel's son, because Gossamer originally was a Marvin Martian character, if I'm not mistaken.
And then he was also like a Mad Doctor's creation. And
yeah, that's right. Which is funny because that doctor is their doctor on the show.
Yeah.
With who's now a Jewish guy. Which
Oh
is great.
yeah, no, it's so funny. And what I love is they brought Speedy Gonzalez back. I've always loved Speedy, and he's in the show, and he's awesome. And he's so funny because he's not only really funny and stuff, he's also slightly conceited, which makes him even funnier.
Well, and that for me, it's what I love about him is the fact that he's the voice of reason and wisdom.
He is.
Yeah.
That's so good. And he owns the restaurant Pizzariba. Pizzariba, which is an amazing word that I wish that I would have used earlier in my life. Pizzariba.
The roll the R.
Pizzariba.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, but so funny. And I'm not all the way through, but some of the musical stuff, and I'm typically not huge on musical stuff unless it's done really well. There's a number of them where I'm like, this is okay. I see what they're doing. It's fun.
Right.
And I get a couple chuckles out of it. A couple of them are square out amazing.
Yeah, the Merry Melodies, yeah.
Oh, the Merry Melodies bit. They have a musical bit right in the middle every single time. And it's just... It's just amazing.
Daffy Duck the Wizard.
Daffy Duck the Wizard is one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
Which I love because in the first season, that was on his business
Like, what am
card.
I, a wizard?
Yeah, and on his business card, that's how he meets Tina, his girlfriend.
And Daffy's got a girlfriend, and she's awesome.
She's just this New York, Brooklyn.
Doesn't,
No,
tough
Jersey.
as nails, doesn't put up with crap except for Daffy's, which is really funny. And what's even funnier, I love this to death. When they brought Lola in, they finally introduced a character that can outdo Bugs. Bugs can win in any fight, period. Except against Lola, who is stark raving mad.
Bugs is
She
witty.
is so funny.
Bugs is witty and quick and
she's
really good, and she's just crazy.
stone cold insane.
She's just crazy.
It's what is so hilarious. You can't ever tell what reality she's living in.
And that's what I love because the fanboys were so angry because they.
Oh, who cares? It was brilliant.
I drank the fanboy tears up because that was hilarious. The amount of
she's
people were just
awesome.
Angry. Why is she this way? It's like, well,
She's so
because
funny.
she had no personality other than being the classic
character.
boy. No, she was the hot boy wet dream desire. in the
Yeah,
show.
she kinda was,
That
wasn't
was
she?
literally her only point of being in Space Jam was being the boy fodder. And it's like honestly if it was something else, she would be getting kidnapped by the bad guy.
and in this version, she is the voice actress does such a great job.
Kirsten Wiig, if I'm not mistaken.
Where do I know that name?
She was.
I want to say I know.
She was the chick in Ghostbusters, the main chick.
Really?
I think that's her. Let me look it up real quick.
Okay, because she's so funny.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, fanboys. I disagree with you. That version of Lola Bunny, that to me is the standard. She is stone cold crazy, and she is so funny because of it. And Bugs cannot win against her. And when he does, he has to absolutely destroy himself doing it. It's so funny to watch Bugs Bunny just twist in the wind like that. That show broke so many rules.
She's done a lot of stuff on Saturday Night Live, of course. Let's see, the stuff that we've seen her or at least heard her in. She's Rough Nut in How to Train Your Dragon.
Perfect.
And also she was the voice of.
Perfect.
See, she was a voice in Despicable Me. Let's see, she was, and also Despicable Me too. She was the secret agent lady.
That's why her voice sounds so familiar.
Yep. She was
She's
Lucy
funny.
Lyon.
She's perfect.
Let's see what else. Ghostbusters. Dr. Erin Gilbert. Yep, that's her. That's her.
The thin one with the long brown hair.
Yes. That's
Yep.
her.
Okay. Wow. I did, now that I'm just my brain is not connecting that face with that voice, but I believe you.
Because I saw it, I was like, Chris Lucas, I know that name.
Yeah, because it's totally familiar
I was like,
sounding.
it's like, is that the chick from Ghostbusters? I was like, wait a minute. I was like, no, she's on Saturday Night Live. I was like, that's the chick from Ghostbusters. I'm pretty sure that is. And then when we just brought it up, I'm like, wait a minute, let me check the name.
That is the chick from Ghostbusters.
Yep, it's the chick from Ghostbusters. And then, of course, Rough Nut from How to Train Your Dragon.
Wonderful. That I completely did not know.
You're crazy. I like it.
Oh man, Lola is so funny on that show.
It's almost to the point where I almost get angry because
because she's stone cold
crazy.
insane.
But it's like I'm like nope, she's good. I'm like I gotta see this through to the end because I gotta see where this is going.
And I just love the fact that in the first couple times her and Bugs like mix it up, he's like doing the whole Pepe Le Pew trying to get away from Pepe Le Pew thing. She is just driving him so stone cold nuts that he's just trying to escape. And she's just so psycho he can't get away from her. And then there's like these moments where she's like really sweet. He's kind of going like, how do I deal with a crazy woman? You know? which is actually pretty funny to watch. You can quite clearly tell he's both horrified and attracted to her at the same time. It's so funny. And I've never seen Space Jam all the way through. Sorry, folks, basketball just ain't my thing. Add aliens and cartoons to it, I still just am like, who cares? But I liked the designs and the images that I saw, but I was just totally going like, why would I watch a basketball movie? Unless there's something really crazy wild about it, and aliens and cartoons was not crazy and wild enough. No, that's fine. You can go ahead and like it. Not my thing, But I always thought, I was like, oh, that Lola Bunny, what a cute design that is. Blah blah blah, And so I was kind of hoping they'd do more with her, and finally they did. And she's really crazy. She is just nuts.
There's a couple of screenshots I actually have saved because I just thought they were really hilarious from, I want to say about 2 or 3 years ago. Just the scene where they first meet and it's raining outside and Bugs Bunny's in his house and the rain's coming down and the lightning flashes and you just see her silhouette standing outside with just her eyes and the smile, and Bugs Bunny turns around and she's gone when the lightning flashes again.
Oh, she's so funny. And the episode we were watching last night where Daffy thought Porky was like was a serial killer. Seriously, it is so funny because the episode starts blandish. I was kind of going like, hopefully this picks up, and when it picked up so hardcore. It was funny because when I was watching, let me see here. When I was watching earlier episodes, I was like, man, Porky Pig's house sort of reminds me, not the outside, but the inside, of the house from Psycho. It did. I was like, it looks like the upstairs from Psycho. I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. And then they did a whole bit where Daffy thinks that he's a serial killer, and Daffy is running in terror inside of his house. And I am just dying the whole time. Because I was just going like, there you go. There you go. That's how you do it. And I mean, they were alluding to some pretty nasty, awful stuff. And it just really legitimately, I could not stop. I could not stop laughing.
Twitch is showing us right now, but it's not technically live. But but you're on there.
Yeah. Yeah, Twitch has been odd lately. That's why I switched over to make sure that YouTube was running us.
Yeah, I'm just checking to see what was on here because if it was actually up or not. Because apparently it has 34 minutes of content, which I'm thinking half of that was probably just the starting.
Yeah, and that's actually about what we're running right now. So it's doing its thing. But I'm going to depend more on YouTube right now. I mean, it's no offense to anyone that joined us late here, but we rarely get anybody. So it's like, might as well go on to YouTube, where we at least get some people. I mean, I get it. I'm a 40-year-old guy sketching cartoons. It's not like this is the most exciting thing in the world. Not when some of the content that people usually watch, it's so kind of out there and crazy and high budget or blah blah blah.
We're just doing what we're doing.
Yeah, I'm just doing my thing. People joins us, cool. If not, cool.
What was some of the other weird, wacky stuff with Looney Tunes? I love that they have like Porky, Marvin Martian, and Pete Puma, kind of like the loser squad in a sense.
Well, yeah, but they also, what was great was they were showing high school with these characters, and Porky was like the hot jock guy.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was hilarious, and Daffy was such a loser, and Porky used to bully him. I mean, that is some funny stuff right there. Just lovely. I just giggled at it and was just going like, that's amazing. that they made. And the funny thing is they made Daffy such a massive loser on the show, and have the biggest ego, like he's the greatest guy, and he's just this piece of crap character. It's so funny. I mean, so legitimately, like, he's just a total jerk that doesn't deserve anything good happening to him.
And he never thinks that he's wrong.
And he never, he's, in oh my God, he's hideous. He is a hideous person, and he is.
That's why when we watch it, I can only watch a couple episodes at a time.
He's a
when
jerk.
you binge it drives me crazy because I'm just hearing him constantly being an a-hole and not getting anything back in return, and everyone's just like, oh, basically that's our Daffy, or Bugs Bunny constantly bails him out and is always calm about it. He's like,
Well, not always. There's times where
I know.
where there's a number of times where Bugs just drops him, like, nope, you're a jerk, you deserve this.
Or anybody. It was like, what was it, one of the episodes we saw last night where Granny he opens the door and Granny just like bellies him.
Oh
like,
yeah, she just
drops
gut
him.
punches him. Oh, speaking of Granny, they did a lot of good stuff with her.
Granny's awesome.
She was a hot red-headed spy in World War II fighting the Nazis. There's an episode about it. It's amazing.
And what I love about Granny, that was June for actually doing the return. That was one of her last roles before she passed away.
That's marvelous.
Yeah, so they actually brought her back, she actually was a 96-year-old woman being voiced by a 96-year-old woman.
That's absolutely fabulous. That is so wonderful.
Mm-hmm, yeah, that's one of the things I really respected about the show. Was like, nope, let Granny do her thing, because she is the original Granny, and she was also, of course, the original Witch Hazel too. But yeah.
You know, I prefer the original Witch Hazel, but the new one, there's nothing wrong with her. I still find her very funny.
Well, they made her different to fit the show because.
Oh yeah, they should have.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like
no.
that's because they had to give her, just like they changed almost everyone else's, or gave everyone else new personality. So, yeah, I like what they did with her, and I love the original Witch Hazel. She is one of my all-time favorite characters. But yeah, the new show, yeah, I have absolutely no problem, because I'm trying the voice. I know the character, the woman who's doing her voice. I'm just having trouble with her name, and I'm gonna look her up because I love her character.
Well, she's got that great, warm, like, black mama voice.
Yeah, she's done.
She's just so stuff. She's just such a great sounding character. What a great voice actress. And I can see why some people had a problem, because it is significantly different than the original voice. But so what? Like, it's like everything can't always stay the same. And this was an interesting rethink. As a matter of fact, that entire show was an interesting rethink, while really remaining to be extremely Looney Tunes. I've been really enjoying it. I'm not all the way through it yet, but
Roz Ryan is her voice actress, and she's done a lot of
Night Court? No. Is it Roz?
No.
Okay.
She's done a lot of Broadway stuff. I'm actually curious. I'm gonna look up and see what happened to Roz. I'm curious about her. But the stuff that we may have seen her in, let's see. She was you haven't seen it, but I've seen it. She was the voice of Cyborg's grandma in Teen Titans Go.
Okay.
The character Gorgeous G in Scooby-Doo Mystery Inc.
That's
I'm
familiar.
trying to remember who that character was.
Gorgeous G.
First episode, apparently.
Gorgeous G.
Yeah,
I feel that it's just on the tip of my mind, but I'm not quite getting it.
Excuse me. Yeah. Let me see. Oh, that's where I heard her from. The Misadventures of Flapjack. She was the little whale that they traveled around in, or big whale that they traveled around in. She was Buddy. Let's see. Wade's mom and Kim Possible.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Original. Oh, she was the series of Hercules, Recess. Oh, she was one of the muses in the Hercules animation or cartoon.
She's got that quality to her voice.
Oh, she was okay. The show Amen with Sherman Hemsley.
Yes.
She was one of the characters in there.
One of the two big church ladies?
Yeah, her, Amelia. Yeah.
Okay.
Her name was Amelia Heddebrink. Yep, I knew her name. I knew she sounded familiar. Yes.
I used to watch that as a kid, but it's been a long time since I've seen it.
Yeah. It was funny. One of the podcasts that I listened to, one of the Ninja Turtle podcasts. Shout out to you guys. Turtle Soup is awesome. One of the guys was saying that he was, what was he? He was waiting for something, and he was on his phone. There was like another guy that was waiting with him, and he was kind of like chuckling or something like that. So they were kind of just like sitting. I think they were in a waiting room of some sort, and so the television pops up, and they're looking, and a man comes on, and he had never seen it before, being a like 30-something year old white guy from Florida. Apparently, he had never seen this, but he's a huge fan of Sherman Hemsley and comedy stuff, and he's like, I've never seen that show before. He's like, when I got home, I did a deep dive into the rabbit hole of the show Amen, and I just loved it.
Yeah, I remember it being a really funny show.
Oh, it was good.
Because Sherman Hemsley is a funny dude.
Yeah, I freaking.
And he was so
loved
good
that
at
show.
not seeming like he was funny,
Mm-hmm.
and then he would just be completely, unbelievably outrageous.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, such a
Funny,
funny dude.
Which, to bring it back to full circle, he actually kind of reminded me a bit of Donald Duck, because he was kind of
In a way, because he was kind of a jerk character.
He was
Yeah.
always his own foil.
Yeah. No, I can totally see that. Yeah.
And also like the way he walked and paraded himself around, he kind of reminded me of. Yeah.
Well, I remember there was one where he was in court,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he decided to represent himself. But by the time the whole ordeal was done, somehow they worked it so he was just standing there naked in the middle of court, and all of his clothes had been torn off of
I
him.
remember that one.
And he's sitting there, and I think he had a hat over his crotch, and I'm just dying as a kid, going like, "Oh, that is so good."
Yeah, like see that, and of course I remember what's his name, Clifton Davis, and his daughter. Well, the actor's name was Clifton Davis, but he was the pastor of the church.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
no, I know who you're talking
his
about.
Daughter, Daddy, who had a big, I'm sorry, he had Sherman Hemsley's daughter in the show had a crush on the pastor.
I remember the pastor being a decent-looking dude.
Yeah, well, Clifton Davis, he was, and he was actually a gospel singer.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, before he became an actor and stuff, and he actually went back and forth. And after the show, we hadn't heard from him, so I'm not sure what's going on in his life right now.
Hmm.
Once again, we'll look it up and see if he's still alive, because he was a really great singer too. Let me see. Yeah, he's alive. 74 years old.
I would imagine he's quite old at this point.
Well, he's 74. It's not.
And that's pretty old.
And it's the same age as my mom's gonna be by next weekend, so she's not gonna. He and my mom are the same age. Cut it out.
Sorry, when someone's old, they're old, hon. I mean, that's nothing I can do about that. Amen.
Anyway. Yeah, from one of his major things, because like I said, he was a pastor and a singer, and he was also a songwriter, and he actually wrote
The opening theme?
Well, no, but the Jackson 5 song, Never Can Say Goodbye, he actually wrote that song. But he did that one. But I don't think he wrote the opening song for that, but the opening song was sung by one of the familiar choirs that I was growing up listening to. But yeah, I have the opening song on my iPod list because of my favorite TV theme songs and cartoon theme songs. That's looking good, huh?
Yeah, it ain't bad.
Yeah.
That was always one of my favorite kind of him being a jackhole expression.
You know, the snarky. I think one of my favorite expressions of his was when he and Bugs Bunny, one of the many times they would travel underground to various places, and they came upon the cave of treasures, and it was they had to go like outsmart the big treasure guardian guy. I saw him chop.
Oh, yes, yes.
They go into the cave, and all the stuff usually pops up, and of course Bugs, he's mad at Bugs Bunny. You got us lost and all that, and so Bugs turns around and he's looking at the map and the classic left at Albuquerque. And he's like, yeah, I should have gone here. And then Daffy turns around and sees all the gold and treasure in the cave. And the look on his face, his eyes are wide, his pupils are like pinpricks, and he's just staring, and he just has this unbalanced look as his tongue.
Oh, wait, is it? Let me see. Wait for it to get up on screen so you can see it. I have right there. There's a huge lag. There we go. Is it this expression right here?
No, but it's kind of close, but it's not quite that one.
God, there's some good expressions on here.
That one is his mother. But it's one where his tongue just kind of darts out a little bit as he's like licking the drool off of this bill.
Okay, yeah. Also, what was really funny about the old version of Daffy is he's not too far off from the Psycho that they created in Looney Tunes show. They just pushed him a little further, and it's so funny.
Yeah, on that one and stuff, because he once he makes that expression, he just does this really like great wild take where he just like turns and just stares at Bugs just from like a side view, and then he just starts like beating him up and pushing him back down the hole. Mine, it's mine.
Such a terrible person.
And then he just like stops and he just clasps his hands together and his eyes are sparkling.
Oh my God.
I saw it first. It's mine. Like, I may be a louse, but I'm a greedy louse.
I may be a louse, but I'm a greedy louse. Oh, so good. It's just so funny. I feel bad for anybody who locks themselves into only one form of entertainment. You know, like the people who only like anime or only like this or only like that. I just end up going like, look, I just want the best of everything. And Daffy is just, he is so freaking funny. And there's so much good stuff out of Looney Tunes. And there's a lot of mediocre stuff that happened too. There was a lot of cartoons that were like, meh. But man, most of the time it was so good.
Yeah, the unfortunate late 60s, early to mid 70s Chuck Jones stuff where he just kind of lost control of what he was doing and wasn't allowed to freely break out. And that's when they started, I think they were losing money at that point.
It was quite clear that the production value of all the shows, even when I was a little kid, I could tell. I was like, what?
When those would come on, I immediately would walk away because I was just like, this isn't going to be funny.
Well, the funny thing is, and there's a lot of Hanna-Barbera that I like, but there's a lot of Hanna-Barbera that is, you know, it was well done in the context of itself, but most of them were very cheap shows. Which is fine, because sometimes that really worked. Sometimes they were really funny while being really cheap shows. But when Looney Tunes got cheap like that, they were just never very good. And at least when Hanna-Barbera was cheap, they were always kind of like good at being cheap. But Warner Brothers sucked at being cheap.
Well, the thing is with the Hanna-Barbera stuff, and again, no offense to them, but you were kind of expected to see that.
Yeah.
I mean,
outside of a couple shows, you were expecting to see total garbage. Yeah.
You were kind of used to what they did.
Unfortunately.
With Looney Tunes, with Looney Tunes, they had given us such a benchmark of what to expect.
They were kind of like Disney in many ways. There was a certain level that you were expecting, and
well, a lot of those guys went on to work for Disney and stuff.
Oh, so, no doubt there.
Yeah, and I mean, if I'm not mistaken, actually, no, that's not right. No, I'm going to take that story back. But yeah, a lot of those guys went on to work in a lot of the professional, or I should say, in the few studios that started up at that time period. A lot of them went on to work for that. Went to work for Disney, Film Roman. I think a lot of them stayed on with Hanna-Barbera, but then they went on to also do some of the Ruby Spears stuff too.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean.
Well, and that's why it's like when I get kind of hard on some of these studios, it's because of their own benchmarks.
Yeah.
And when I look at a lot of the stuff that Disney does, there's a reason why I'm kind of pissed at them, is because I've seen what they can do. I know what they can do. And then they give me these productions that are super expensive because the voice actors and the expensive musicians and stuff that they hire, and then it seems like they spent 10 minutes on the script of the show, and you were like, guys, I know you can do better than this. I've seen it. This isn't me like theoretically wondering if Disney can do better. It's me looking at their stuff going like, guys, this is a crutch. You could do better. You could so do better, and you're not. And then they do better, and you're like, oh my God, Zootopia! And then you get the next several movies going like, oh, Jesus, this again.
There was one of the blogs that I step on every once in a while, called the Art of Lost and Canceled Media, where they show a lot. That's where I found the Roger Rabbit stuff I was telling you about earlier today. They were talking about two particular holy crap movies that could have been better if they would have kept this stuff in. Black Cauldron and
Black Cauldron was pretty decent. I mean, it could have been better, but that's one of those ones where I always go like, that's a weird one because everyone has kind of almost forgotten it. And when I was a little kid, I saw it in the theaters, and I remember really having a good time, even with the obnoxious little mop head of a sidekick creature.
Yeah, that was. Let me see if I can find it real quick. But it was a. They were actually talking about the parts that they cut out from that because they deemed it literally too scary.
Well, there was a couple moments in there where it's the Army of the Dead Rising sequence was pretty hardcore for a little kid to watch.
Yeah, apparently there was a lot more to that particular one.
I would imagine, yeah.
I can find it. But it was that, and there was a scene in... Oh, shoot, was it Black Cauldron also? Or no, it was it Rockadoodle? I know that you probably haven't seen that, and I don't think you would like it because it is a musical. Yeah. And it's pretty much everything that you don't like about. I mean, there was stuff where I like the movie because I love the music, but for me they should have added more dialogue, less music.
Yeah.
Again,
that's my problem with musicals most of the time is the music is a crutch instead of adding to it.
But I'm trying to think, which one was that? Okay, because my brain is being scattered
That's
brain
okay.
here.
It's okay.
But either way, this particular scene that I saw was they were talking. They cut it out, and it was a owl, like a big, like he wasn't even a big scary owl, but he was kind of a big, gruff, mean character. He was obviously one of the villains in the movie. But they actually had him grabbing a cute little animal, like a skunk, a little skunk or squirrel, shoving this little cute animal into a pie as it's pleading and crying for its life, and him just bouncing around and then shoving it into the oven.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. On that high note, I think this is a pretty good start.
Mm-hmm.
And for today.
Yeah, about to say we're
Huh? The hell are you talking about, Aaron? That's pretty good. That was the expression I wanted to do.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. All right. Every self. Wow. Everyone have yourself.
I think it's time for dinner.
It is. It's getting there. Have yourself a good week, and we will catch you. We're not doing anything next weekend, right? You'll be doing this. I'll still be at that little convention. You got the thing. I'll be here, so I will be here next week.
I have the convention, but you, yeah.
And everyone have yourself a good week. So we will do the Mr. Rogers bit. Operate a box. See if I can do this right this time. Looks like it's got a magic lock on it. I bet I failed. Oh, wait. Oh, one shot. Okay. All right. Well, everyone, I will catch you later.